I'm Emelinda McLean, and I am one of the co-founders of More Than Sex Ed, and I'm really excited to share with you all the upcoming workshops that we're launching in South Pasadena, Studio City, and Redondo Beach. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy lives to be a part of this online webinar, which is a technological adventure for More Than Sex Ed, but we're excited to keep figuring out all of the possible ways that we can reach people and have conversations with parents and students. So we're going to get going talking through the basic philosophy behind our workshop. We know that parents are struggling with how, when, and what to talk to their children and youth about sexuality. And we want to recognize that parents are the primary sexuality educators of their children. We want to support, not supplant you in that role. We enthusiastically encourage students to talk with their parents about their beliefs and values around everything that we talk about in class. We believe that the model for healthy conversation that this program is built on really gives students the tools, the language, the vocabulary, and the information to bring this conversation home and unpack what feels right and true for them and what their family's messages are around what is right and healthy and developmentally appropriate. And we encourage students to have those conversations with their parents. The program is very much built around discussion and sharing different ideas and different points of view and sussing out for oneself what feels healthy, right, and appropriate, and making decisions that are right for you. So the model that we use in class to convey this message is our classroom agreements. And I'm going to get to those in a second. The Circles of Sexuality, the intersections of sexuality model, if you can see this, is our philosophy for all of the ways that sex and sexuality are a part of our whole lives, and not just one compartmentalized aspect. Sexual health and reproduction, or biology, anatomy, physiology, that is one component of the human sexual experience. And most sex ed programs focus on this to the exclusion of a lot of other really important topics that affect our lives. So we look at the intersections of all of these 5 different categories of sexuality. And when parents wonder, how is this program 6 months long? How do we have 36 hours of content? Because the full-length program is 25 90-minute sessions. So these 5 components of sexuality are the topics that we cover. Biology, anatomy, physiology is one aspect. We also talk about identity, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, gender roles and stereotypes, romantic orientation, which may be different from sexual orientation. That's all one separate component of our sexual experience. Intimacy, or relationships, how we connect with other people, is another whole category. So healthy conversations, trust, respect, communication skills, honesty, vulnerability, all of the things that make for a healthy and fulfilling relationship are another whole big box to unpack. Sensuality is the 4th component as we're moving around the diagram, for those of you who can see the PowerPoint. Our experience of our own bodies, what gives us pleasure, fantasy and masturbation are a component of this. So is body image and sense of self and likes and dislikes. The 5th circle moving around the diagram is sexualization, or how power and sexuality intersect. So we talk about different power differentials in relationships and how those can be exploited or abused. We talk about the way that flirting can be an exercise in power that may be empowering and positive for a young person. We also talk about the use of sex to sell products, like in advertising, as well as the components of sexuality where power is used to harm another person. So harassment, exploitation, coercion, assault, abuse, rape. So this diagram, biology, identity, relationships, physical experience, and power, show us how broad the ways that sex and sexuality are a part of our whole lives, our understanding of ourselves, and our ability to connect and relate with other people in healthy ways. This is why we are more than sex ed, because sexuality is so much more than just sex. Are there any questions about this component before we move on to the actual classroom practices, how we have these conversations about this broad range of topics? Should we hold questions until after we've talked through the upcoming classes? You can give a raise hand in the participants window or type a question into the group chat window. I'm hearing someone who's unmuted. All right, shall we move on to the next slide? So the values at the center of those 5 different components of sexuality are there to remind us that all of these are deeply personal. There's no way for them not to be. And everyone is going to have a different point of view. So we really emphasize the importance of respectful, thoughtful, caring discussion, and honoring differences in life experiences and points of view, because the medium is the message, and practicing having healthy and respectful conversations is one of the best tools that students can gain from our class. So the classroom agreements model sets up a framework for those respectful and meaningful conversations that peers probably get more out of than just hearing an instructor or teacher say, here is a pile of information. So quickly, the agreements that we ask students to abide by, and if you are willing, we would very much like to ask that for the remainder of this digital meeting that you all agree to the same set of understandings that we ask the students in our program to, which is to listen with an open mind, to assume differences and not make the mistake of thinking that everyone's point of view is the same as yours, to take space and make space so that you are adding your voice to the conversation and leaving room in the conversation for other people who have maybe not added their thoughts yet. To use I statements and speak from your own experience, avoiding generalizations which have the potential to turn into stereotypes. We always give everyone the right to pass. So no student in our program is ever obligated to say or share anything that they don't want to. And for those of you who may have a teenager who's really reluctant to participate, this rule stated up front can put a lot of anxious young people at ease really quick. We will never ask anyone to share anything that they don't want to. And we also promise confidentiality, in that anything said in the room stays in the room. We emphasize this really heavily to the participants, that although there's never any point where they're expected to share something personal, if someone chooses to, we honor their right to privacy and it does not leave the room, with the exception of anything that would fall under the category of mandated reporting. So we do ensure students that if there is a concern for their safety, that we will get them the help that they need, and provide any resources that we can. So the students in general respond really well to these, and I've seen them make for really fantastic, rich, moving, deep, thoughtful conversations. And that's what we want for all of your students, is for there to be a framework for them to engage in these thoughts and these conversations with each other, more so than with any teacher that we could put in front of them. That being said, there are some really common concerns that parents have when we put their students into this kind of framework. So we're going to talk through the most common concerns that we hear from parents right up front. And a big one is that peer influence component. A lot of parents think, What if someone else in the class brings something up that my child had no clue about? Or what if other participants are leaning in a direction that is not where I think it's healthy, right, developmentally appropriate for my child to go? The classroom conversation model that More Than Sex Ed uses is really built on the idea that peers have a stronger influence on each other in the middle school, adolescent time frame of life than most adult authority figures. And we really leverage that. So the facilitated conversations around, what do you think is healthy? Do you think this is okay or not okay? When do you feel like this is appropriate? Overwhelmingly result in the students in the class who recognize what their values are telling them, really speaking up and having that role modeled by a peer in a class has a stronger impact on a student than hearing it from a teacher or in some cases a parent. Parents are the primary influence on a child's life right up until the middle school adolescent age, and then peers and media become equally prominent, but parents remain in the top three. You're still in the top three. But by leveraging that peer influence in a context of healthy, loving, caring, respectful, developmentally appropriate relationships and a respectful sense of self, we really nurture those voices and points of view around what is healthy and stable and respectful. And those really rise to the top in a powerful way. So, very common concern, does comprehensive sex ed encourage promiscuity? All the studies say no. Students who have accurate information overwhelmingly delay sexual debut, and when they do become sexually active are much more likely to use protection. So that is a really heavily emphasized component of the program. And a very common thing that we hear from a lot of parents is whether the content of this class is too much too soon. Statistically, I'm sorry if I'm the first one to tell you that American adolescents, not even teenagers, preteens, are being exposed to very sexual imagery and content younger and younger. And it is far more likely that most young people have already been exposed to really graphic content without any context of what is healthy, developmentally appropriate, respectful, caring, loving. That is the context that we want to put all of this highly sexual images and ideas that they have been exposed to, that are floating around in our cultural consciousness. We really think that this is the best possible setting for young people to engage in a conversation about what human sexuality is. So if it is the first place that they are exposed to ideas about certain sexual behaviors or identities that maybe you thought young people are not currently aware of, we really think that this is the healthiest context to provide them with a framework for understanding and clarifying their own values. So our program values, just a couple of more slides, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what these classes consist of. The values that you as parents want to talk to your children about, we enthusiastically and regularly encourage students to talk with your parents about what your family thinks is right and appropriate. That being said, the program is values-based because sexuality is deeply personal. There's no way for it not to be. Self-worth is one of the central program values. We want every participant in the class to get the message that who they are is right, healthy, good, normal. Sexual health is another important value we support wholeheartedly. Everyone taking good care of their bodies and having the accurate information that they need to make the right choices for themselves. responsibility, both for their health and well-being and for their relationships, knowing how to have the healthiest possible communication and relationships in their lives. And justice and inclusivity. So being inclusive of a diversity of sexual identities, promoting gender equality, and respecting the wide range of normal that we see in human sexual diversity. We're going to throw up one more slide, which is one of our signature teaching graphics. This is the complex human. If you're on the phone and you can't see this, it's also on our website, morethansex-ed.org. But this just shows all the different components of human sexual identity. And I love this graphic because many people get a really oversimplified pink box or blue box message about gender roles. And to show this graphic in all of its bright rainbow colors to students really sends the message that you are unique and colorful, and what you are, how you feel, is something that you can share with all kinds of other people. You are not alone. We have a graphic that shows the diversity of identities that are totally normal and that we respect and include. So that is the spiel. That is the overall philosophy of this extensive program. The slides that we have up now are the specific workshop content for the 4th and 5th grade class, as well as the 6th grade workshops, although we're not currently offering 6th grade. The 4th and 5th grade workshops that you see listed on the screen will be offered in Redondo Beach at the Knowing Garden. Can we jump ahead to the 7th, 8th grade lessons? These are the 90-minute workshops that we'll be offering in Studio City and South Pasadena over the next 6 months. You can see from values and language to body image, gender stereotypes, social media and the internet, bullying and bystander responsibilities, STIs, pregnancy, contraception, communication. There is a lot of content to cover. And I realize it may seem like a pretty dense lineup when we first look at it, but overwhelmingly, the most common response that we get from students when asked at the end of a program what they would have liked for it to include, we hear more time. The vast majority of our students, after coming through the class, wish that it could have been longer, which is a teacher's favorite thing to hear, absolutely. But I recognize that we have a few callers who are not able to see the slides right now. I believe that these were included in attachments on the email, so you can take a look at these in the email where you received the login info for this call, if you are not able to look at this list now. And then can we jump to the 10, 12th grade workshops on the next slide? We're also not offering the high school level at the moment, but you can see how it builds on the content from the middle school classes. And there's some content that in 7th and 8th grade, students are really only comfortable thinking about at arm's length. And by high school, they may have had some more personal experience, seen friends in relationships. They're able to think about it in a little more detail. And so the 10th through 12th grade classes are designed to build on that and allow for more conversation once students are ready to go there. So I want to leave as much time as possible for those of you who were able to join us this evening to ask us any and all questions that you would like for Jill and myself to answer about the programs coming up in Pasadena, Studio City, and Redondo Beach. Pasadena and Studio City are on Sunday afternoons. I'll be the lead teacher at the Studio City Church. Greg Boyd, who is More Than Sex Ed's admin person and an amazing teacher that I've worked with many times, will be our lead teacher in the Pasadena location. And in Redondo Beach, Yvonne and Kelly, who are two amazing teachers that have been working with us for over a year, will be leading that program for 4th and 5th graders. So at this point, we want to answer any questions, make sure that you have the information you need, and invite you to share this with anyone that you may know who wasn't able to join the call tonight, or who maybe has been on the fence about signing up for the program. I see Cassandra has asked, how does it work if students miss a class? So at this point, we do not have makeup classes available. We can send out any handouts or content that were distributed in the class over email. We do not have a means to reimburse for a portion of a month that classes were missed. But if you have several weeks that you'll be away, like 3 out of 4 weeks in April, you know that you'll be at a wedding, out of town, this, that, the other thing. You are able to just not register for the month of April, say, and then come back in May. So we hope that the rolling monthly registration will make it a little bit easier. Cool. Happy to clear up. Other questions, either in the chat box or if you'd like to be unmuted. I guess I'm not sure what the phone app mechanism will allow for as far as answering questions or raising hands. Jill, shall we?
I have a quick question. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. I was just wondering, because I went back and looked in my email, and now I'm on my phone, not at my computer. But you said there was an attachment to the confirmation, but I didn't see one. So, but is that all on your website?
Jill, I think this is a Jill question. I believe there was a email that went out with the login link, but it might have been the first iteration. I think there was a little hiccup in getting the right link sent out for this call.
Hi, it's Jill.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in. The person calling from the phone, I don't see your name. Can you?
It's Andrea.
You're Andrea? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that you get what I sent out. I know there's been a hiccup in trying to make sure all of that.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I went and I looked at the 2 different confirmations and didn't see it, but it could be because I'm on my phone. But I'll check when I get to my computer too. So no problem at all.
Okay, Cassandra says there was not an attachment on the email with the link. I think it may have gone out on an earlier email. But I'm sure that we can resend that. And Jill, is that up on the website? The graph with the topics for every class?
Yes, should be available. You know what? After I'm done here, I'm going to make sure. I'll jump on it, and I'll make sure once you go to the workshop list that you can pull all that up.
Okay, awesome. Some other nuts and bolts about the program implementation. I can tell you that we will have a rotation of teachers at each location. There will always be 2 teachers with the students, and we always try to represent some diversity. So male, female, cis and trans, straight and gay, racial diversity. We have a really fantastic, diverse, fabulous team of fired up, motivated, amazing, energetic sex educators that students love hearing from and working with. There'll be about 4 teachers at each location, and 2 will be in the class every Sunday. So like I said, I will be the main teacher at the Studio City location. Greg Boyd will be the primary teacher at the South Pasadena location, assuming that we have the registration for the South Pasadena class to go ahead. And that is something that we are hopeful about. But I am curious, of those of you on this call, who is here with an interest in the South Pasadena location and who's looking at the Studio City location. I see Heather asking about signing up her daughter for the 5th grade class, but not knowing anyone else taking it and concerned about being intimidated, which is something we hear from students a lot. How fun are the classes? I can tell you, super fun. My favorite thing to hear from a student is, I didn't expect this class to be this much fun. And it is really designed to build on a sense of community bonding as the class goes along. The level of trust and camaraderie that develops among the students is really a beautiful thing to see. There is, in every session, if you're looking at that grid, can we go back to the grid of classes, Jill? There we go. So every one of these squares is a lesson plan, and each one includes 1, usually 2 or 3, get up and move around the room, hands-on kind of participatory, gamified activities. So it is a very experiential learning environment, and we are very accustomed to a lot of laughter coming up in class. And that's what really makes it memorable. And we love seeing the students who really connect with others and make friends in the class. So something that I am always encouraging parents to talk to their students about is, if you have a child who is hesitant or unsure, ask them to try it for a month. Just give it 4 Sundays in a row. And if they are not sold on 4 Sundays, then we can talk more. But I think that if they give it a few weeks, they will have a blast and be really, really excited about coming back and continuing to be a part of the group. Heather, does that answer your question? We would also enthusiastically encourage you to talk to some of the parents of your daughter's friends and see whether maybe you could rope a couple of peers that she will feel comfortable with into taking the class with her, because we would love to have them signed up. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Heather. I don't know if that was a recent addition to the post list or a response to my answering your question. I will hope that that was the answer that you were looking for. So I am looking at the sessions for 4th and 5th grade, which will be in Redondo Beach. And I want to clarify that those are during the weekday. And we are primarily targeting homeschooling families with those as well. If you are looking at a 4th or 5th grade student signing up for those Redondo Beach workshops, that is a Tuesday daytime slot. And is that, yes, 11 a.m. to noon. Just checking my notes. This is a little weird having everyone muted. I'm used to being in front of a room full of people where I can gauge reactions based on facial expression. I'm going to trust that nobody is glaring at me from behind their computer screen or their phone. Studio City, homeschoolers and others. So the Studio City workshop is on Sunday afternoons, 3 to 4:30. I do happen to know that there are a couple of homeschooling families in there and a few that are not. Excellent. So yeah, Studio City and South Pasadena are on Sunday afternoons. And Anna just said that her son is homeschooled. So that's awesome. Yeah, we tend to jive well with a lot of homeschooling families. I am an enthusiastic advocate of alternative educational models, and particularly for homeschooling parents, sex ed is a topic that you really don't want to be the only instructor in your child's life. There are some conversations that are real challenging even for homeschooling parents. And we are really, really happy to partner with those families to get that education across because we're pretty passionate about it. Cassandra says that they homeschool and have friends from their old school. So if you know people in homeschooling circles or in other parent groups or schooling communities that you would like to share this information with, we would absolutely love to have more participants sign up. If they are not able to join the first class that is this Sunday, we realize that's a pretty short turnaround. We are more than happy to have students join the class late. We always begin class with a reminder of the classroom agreements and the Circles of Sexuality, that model of intersections, so that everyone has the opportunity to sort of get the foundational theory behind it. Question, how many students can you accommodate in the Studio City classes, and are there still openings? There is still a lot of room in the Studio City class. Our ideal participant size is around 16 students, and we are under 10 right now at Studio City. One possibility that we are looking at is whether some of the families that are currently signed up in South Pasadena would be willing to join the Studio City group. We can take up to 20 students in a group easily. If we were a couple over that, we might be able to make it work. So we are not currently in danger of filling up and closing a class anywhere. We would love to have more families sign up, and after this call, we'll be able to share the video, and Jill and I are both more than happy to correspond via email or talk on the phone with any parents that have particular questions and may be curious about enrolling their child. And Cassandra, if you are interested in carrying the banner and inviting friends to sign up for the class, you're my hero, and we would absolutely love and be deeply grateful for your support and enthusiasm. Word of mouth is the #1 way that parents learn that this program is available, and we understand that it's something that's very sensitive for a lot of families and can be difficult to trust an organization that you don't know. We assure you that we have your students' absolute best interests at heart. There are scholarships available if the monthly fee is a challenge for some families. We are really committed to making this accessible. Jill would be the person to talk to about having scholarships available. Definitely. Thank you for asking about that. We are happy to have people get in touch with us via our Facebook page, which is More Than Sex Ed, a project of community partners. We're pretty easy to find on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, More Than Sex-Ed, and our website, morethansex-ed.org, has a lot of information, and we're always putting new stuff up there as a way to get in touch with us. So you're welcome to share any and all of those resources and links with people who might be interested. And Jill says she is happy to connect folks with scholarships, and the best way to find that information is to log on to our website, morethansex-ed.org. That's also where registration info is available. Cassandra asks, are these classes different than the OWL classes I've heard of, or are they the same? Awesome question. So yes, More Than Sex Ed uses the Our Whole Lives curriculum, which has been offered in private organizations. You may have heard of it being offered at Unitarian Universalist churches. The full curriculum at 7th through 9th grade. We've also got kindergarten, 4th through 6th grade, middle school, high school, older adult, young adult. There are a total of 7 different curricula for different age levels. And More Than Sex Ed was founded to get the OWL curriculum out to as many young people as possible. We're really passionate about it. We think it is absolutely the best program out there. We are trained in using this curriculum by its authors and developers. And the reason we are called More Than Sex Ed instead of Our Whole Lives is because when we take it into schools, sometimes our school clients or certain private group clients want to do an abridged version, and the OWL curriculum developers don't want the name OWL attached to anything less than the full as written program. So in Studio City and South Pasadena, we are doing the full unabridged curriculum. We have also offered classes that are modified or adapted to fit the time available for the client based on what they want and need. But we are passionate about the OWL curriculum as written, and we are really, really excited to work with UU churches to get the program out to people who might not know that it's available at church. A lot of people don't know that you can get great sex ed from a church. But also, we want to make sure that there's a distinction between the secular offerings and the faith-based offerings. So it is a completely secular curriculum, in case anyone is wondering. It was developed by a church, but it has no religious content whatsoever, just to clarify. And Jill says, we are also developing summer week-long programs for those that may not have the 6 months. So if the once a week for several months is a scheduling hassle for you and your family, we're really excited to do summer, sort of a day camp intensive program in July. And if this program doesn't work for you, or someone that you know who's excited and just isn't going to be able to make it work this time around, looking forward to being able to offer the summer day camp option for folks. Is there anyone else that would like to have a question clarified? Anyone that's maybe been muted and would like the chance to ask a question out loud? Not to put anyone on the spot. Jill, is there anything that you would like to add about registration logistics or the enrollment option?
Yeah, so what I would just say is once again, we are building something. We are getting new programming started where we haven't been before. So it's always an interesting process to see who's there and who's interested. And we know sometimes it takes a little time to develop the momentum and to get people all on board. So we really appreciate that you are here with us at the beginning of something new and exciting. We really want to make a go of it. We really want to be a presence in our community so that families understand that, you know, we have ongoing programming, and we want to be here when your child is at that developmental stage. That certain, you know, set of workshops is really appropriate for folks. So thanks for helping us get the word out. Super willing to work with anybody who's missed the orientation but still wants to jump in on the classes that are beginning this next week. We'll figure out a way to get the information to everybody. Please know that you can you have my email. You can find me on the website. A lot of you have my email anyway. Feel free to text me. Feel free to email me with any thoughts or concerns that you may have. We're still kind of building our online presence and figuring out the ways that we can communicate with everybody. So if we've dropped something in between and you feel like you should have gotten a piece of communication, please speak up and let me know, because we wouldn't be here without your help. We're not going to be able to grow this without your help, and we really want to be here for the long term in our communities. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much, Jill. Well, I saw a message from Heather who said that this was great and she had to run. So if there are no other questions that anybody wants to float, I could talk about sex ed all day long. It's all I want to do with my life, and I am so excited for the opportunity to share it with all of you, and hopefully with all of your adolescent children, who I'm sure are awesome and brilliant, and I can't wait to get to meet them. But I will let you all go if there is nothing further. We are really, really grateful for your time this evening, and we're really looking forward to getting to talk with you more as we go forward.